Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar. This is the first joint webinar between the DK UK and the South African Chamber, hopefully not the last. We do see the benefit in sharing knowledge and great solutions, hence the initiative to actually start having joint webinars. I'm Sven, I'm the CEO of the South African Chamber. I'm also a founder of a business which supports foreign businesses when setting up their UK operations. And joining us today are Kim of SafeOnline and Nelly, who's head of immigration at Sherrod's. They will outline these areas relating to where data is kept and also why you cannot just delete it. I was introduced to Kim a few years ago, and I loved the solution that Data Mapper SafeOnline were providing. As we all know, data protection is a necessary evil, and there's tough legislation which covers it. I've also seen the stress that data protection causes our clients in the boardroom and the compliance teams, and I've found that SafeOnline has found a solution for this. I know we all think we are okay, we have policies, we have procedures in place, and everyone is aware of how they should be acting with data. But do they really? To be honest, do you know where you have your passports, your driver's license floating about in your email box? What about the rest of your team? Data is sent around all the time, and it's expected that the team is extracting and storing correctly. Wouldn't you want certainty? Wouldn't you want to know that your business is focused on building or selling your product or services rather than sitting in a compliance nightmare? I know I do. Especially when the market is so competitive currently, you want your people to be focused on business growth, help them to remove admin. And that is where SafeOnline achieves this for you. Before I hand over to Kim, please remember that SafeOnline are offering their data report for free to anyone who attends this webinar, or you can contact us afterwards. This has an average value of £2,000 and will outline your areas of possible concern. I think this is an offer you should not miss. So also, we do have a question and answer session afterwards, and please do send through your questions or raise your hand. And actually, it's quite a casual webinar, so even if you unmute yourself and want to raise a question, please feel free to do so. With that, let me hand over to Kim, who can start his portion of the webinar. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone can hear me. I'm currently in Copenhagen, where the weather is absolutely beautiful, by the way. So yeah, it's very nice and summery here. But the challenges that all companies have got, doesn't matter what you do, what size you are, and where you are located on the planet, have all got really the same challenge in terms of personal data that belongs to other individuals than yourselves. And those categories for that are roughly categorized as structured and unstructured data. And what is that? Structured data is information you have available in systems where the information is fine. It's systems where the data is located where it should be. That could be HR system, it could be financial systems, ERP systems, business intelligence systems, and all the things that you use in your daily lives to get the business to run smoothly. And in an ideal world, and I emphasize on ideal world, then the location for the data, the right people within an organization will have access to that data. They can withdraw data from there, or they can put more data in. And that's fine. That's in an ideal world, it's fine. Now, where the challenge arises for all companies, especially the ones that uses Microsoft Office 365 as a work tool, it's all the unstructured data. And that is something as a company, as you're reliable for, but it's an absolute nightmare to start finding out what you've got and how much of it you've got and what it is. And that's all the unstructured data. That's data that is floating around in emails, as an example. And once you start having, a couple of employees, once you have hundreds of employees, and some companies with thousands of them, the challenge just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, because it's very, very difficult to actually go in and have a look at what is in there. That's the email side of things. Then there's the other issues, like, for example, if you use OneDrive in your work, a lot of people use, for example, SharePoint, communicate through Teams. So that's the Microsoft side of it, to get an overview of all that information that is in there, who's got what is it, and the amounts of it. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, we have a solution for that. Then there's the other side, finally, of unstructured data, which is basically many companies have pushed everything up into the cloud, right? Because it's easy. It's super easy in terms of updates, in terms of security, in terms of handling it. It's very, very, easy way to do things. But some companies haven't, and that could be for various reasons. Some because they don't want to, or it could be opinions and what have you. But the point of what I'm trying to say here is that if you haven't migrated into a cloud solution yet, you probably have a network drive standing somewhere or located somewhere. That could be down in the basement of your HQ, or it could be at an IT provider you work with somewhere in the UK or abroad for that matter. Now, within there will be GDPR related information, and how are you going to find out what is in store there? And then there's also, for example, final things such as laptops and stationary PCs and Macs. All the information that's stored on employees' files there. What have they got? Well, that's the challenge that we're going to address today. And that's what we have a solution for, that you can gain easy access and find out exactly what's what. But I'll hand you over to our very, very good dear friend Nelly, who will tell you a little bit more about, the legality of all these things and what you need to keep an eye on.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nelly, and before I tell you why you cannot delete all data to be risk-free from GDPR in compliance, just a bit about myself. So I'm a solicitor with Sharad's, part of employment and immigration team. I'm heading the immigration part of things, but I'm going to talk about record-keeping obligations because Kim's report, as he'll tell you later, will show you and identify the risks of keeping data unsafe. But can you just delete all of that? The answer is obviously no. The answer is you have to actually, whatever the size of the company you are, keep some of the documents. So we're going to have a quick legal overview of what documents you need to keep. Next slide, please. So what we're going to look at today is why do you need to keep the records in the first place? What records do you actually have to keep? How long do you need to keep that for? And what's going to happen if you just don't keep it? If you delete it, what's the consequences? So again, it will be a very high level overview. If you have any questions, let me know afterwards. But this is just to a bit maybe grab your attention. That why are we listening to all of this? Why do we need to be compliant with the GDPR? And why do we actually need to keep some of the data safely? Next slide, please. So why do you need to keep the records? There are, from legal perspective, there are 3 points that you need to keep them for. It's immigration, which applies to all of the companies. Even if you only hire British, Irish nationals, you don't have any foreign nationals with your company, you do need to keep their right to work checks on file. And that includes most of the time passports, which is sensitive data. Employment documents, from recruitment, onboarding, and throughout the ongoing employment of employee, you have to keep the data about their employment. And the final one, tax. That's an easy one, but any payroll records for HMRC compliance, pension enrollment, that has to be kept on file. Next slide. So what exactly do we need to keep? So as I said, from immigration perspective, it's right to work checks. So it's passports. If it's foreign national, online right to work checks. If you are also a larger company and have a license, potentially sponsoring foreign workers, you have some other enhanced record keeping obligations, which, go into compliance, tracking visas, addresses history, again, all sensitive data. The same for employment. If we go back a bit, we're working with, working time and salary records. You're talking about absences, contracts, offer letters. They have to be kept all on file, and the same with HMRC, PAYE data, pension enrollments, P45, P60s. That includes a lot of sensitive data, including national insurance numbers, salary details, personal information like date of birth, and personal details. Next slide. So how long do you actually need to keep all of that information for? I would say for most of this, all 3 points is for the duration of employment of each person and several years afterwards. So for immigration, we're looking at 2 years afterwards. For employment, we're looking at 6 years afterwards, because you can be defending against a claim on employment side. And then for the payroll records, again, it's 3 years from the end of tax year. Pension auto-enrollment in the UK, we all know that all employees have to be offered a pension enrollment. And if they refuse that, you have to keep the record for that as well, for the opting out notices. So as you can see, keeping the data has to be done for quite a long time. So you cannot just receive somebody's personal information or process somebody's salary and immediately delete it. So you have to keep that on file for a certain period of time. And Kim's platform will show you how to actually do that safely and not to be in compliance with GDPR. The final thing we're going to look at, next slide, please, is what is actually the consequences for not keeping the data. So what if you decided, I'm quite not super averse to risk, I'm just going to delete all of that data and not worry about how it's kept? Well, actually, we're looking at quite significant financial consequences. In addition to audits by various legal authorities, from immigration to employment, for example, claims, or tax authorities, which is also not the most pleasant experience to talk with people, we are looking at significant fines. So, for example, for illegal working fines, we're looking at £45,000 per person of if you didn't keep their passport, for example, for the check, and they found out later that actually that passport might not be genuine. You don't have to police the people on what their passports are, whether they're genuine or not, but you have to keep the records that you've done the check in the first place. That's what it's all about. Same goes for employment. If you don't keep your record on the payroll of paying the minimum national wage, you are looking at £20,000 per worker for fines. PAYE records can be up to £3,000 per tax year per failure of not keeping the PAYE record, and the same for pension enrollment. It could be really, we're talking about tens of £1,000s of in compliance fines. So hopefully those numbers did grab your attention as to why you actually need to ensure that the data is stored securely. And yeah, if you have any questions on the legal side, let me know, but I'll give back to Kim now to talk about SafeOnline as a great platform to do that.
Thank you very much. What we offer here exclusively to anyone participating and to members of both the DK UK Association and the South African Chamber of Commerce is basically to start out finding out, what is your state of affairs in terms of GDPR data. And we have a very, very simple solution of doing that. And what we do is we go in and we offer a risk assessment. Now, a risk assessment is basically what's called a global admin scan in Microsoft terms. It scans all your emails from all your employees, scans all your shared email boxes. It can also scan your OneDrives and your SharePoint sites if you want. Sven, can you move on to the next page, please? And this is basically the front page of it. This is what it looks like. If you go to the next page, right. What it'll highlight exactly what GDPR data is stored within your company. And if you sort of just in broad terms put it into 2 categories, you got everything that's number-based. So that's your passports, your driving license, your national insurance numbers, credit card details, etc. It'll find all that. And you'll see here exactly where within the company it is, which email accounts does this account belong to. Those are the people who have the information. And all that's done here with the red is all number-based. If we can go through to the next page. This will show you exactly how many documents you have within your organization that's spread across your Microsoft universe, right? Your Outlook, your OneDrive, and your SharePoint. If we could go to the next page. Now, just quickly, GDPR data, one thing is all that's number-based, but then you have all the other things that are just as important. And that's things like health information, sexual orientation, ethnic ethnicity, race, religious beliefs, etc., etc., etc. And before something of those categories becomes GDPR relevant, it has to point to a certain individual. So it finds all of that as well. Datamap as a tool works around a taxonomy of 1,000 keywords and search phrases. These are the basics, and this is what it finds. So it finds all the information on the categories I've just mentioned within your company and where is it stored. You'll get a complete overview and overlook of that. And the idea of this report is basically just to give you an idea of where are you as a company. If you then want, and this is absolutely free of charge, it doesn't cost you anything. If it's something you want to obviously go ahead with, then obviously that depends on the results. And some companies find out that they're quite good at compliance. Everything's fine. Most companies find out that they're not. But then obviously we have a solution for that. But this is just a very, very easy and quick way to get this done. In terms of time-wise, you're looking at getting it done from when we start, from when we set it up, takes till we finished, till we've gone through the full report with you. You have to look at between 60 to 90 minutes in total, and you don't have to involve any of your staff whatsoever, apart from the ones you clearly want.
I mean, Kim, the other thing to maybe ask is, what about, you get people stealing data and holding it kidnapped? I mean, I suppose will this help the situation? Would that be useful?
That's a very, very good point, because what we've seen a lot of companies do in the Nordics is they use this report as sort of a risk assessment of, how vulnerable are you if you're looking at getting hacked, for example. And hacking is a big issue. We've just recently seen what happened with Marks and Sparks, that has, catastrophic effects on them in terms of financial and brand effect and all those kind of things. But what you can do is you can go in with the risk reports, because you'll see exactly who's got what and what it is. And then you can see, right, okay, how vulnerable are we if we get hacked? And hacking is, as you know, all pretty much aware of, I'd imagine anyway, it's a big issue, and it's not going to go, the right way. It's only going to get worse. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. So an analysis what we offer will show you exactly how vulnerable you are.
Yeah. And you've been saying Microsoft, but is there an option, like some of us use Google, for instance? I mean, is that an option, for Google Drives, or is it just to understand how your system works?
It is an option. We actually, it's a good point. Let me just just broaden that spectrum a little bit. We were approached by Microsoft last year, who came with a massive endorsement for us. And we're obviously quite proud of that, because it highlights the seriousness of what we're doing. But my point is that this endorsement, which was rather large, was used to further develop Datamapper. And within the Microsoft universe, if you're in the Azure environment under Microsoft, there is about 1,100 systems you can attach your Microsoft Office pack to, using something called a logic app. And Datamapper can now be integrated to all these systems. And that whole development was paid for by Microsoft. So you can integrate to virtually any kind of system you like. If it's not under the Microsoft umbrella, and there's about 1,100 systems in there, anything from Dropbox to Salesforce, HubSpot, and Dynamics, and what you use, as long as the system has an API solution, we can integrate to it. So the short answer is yes.
Oh, excellent. Quick question for you, Nelly, as well. I just want to ask, we know that the UK hasn't got resources for most things, but how let's say, how aggressive are they checking on your records? Because I mean, I know they are for certain other parts, but are they looking at this as a way to make money, obviously, because we need the money since Brexit? But what is your sense on that?
I think the most important thing to remember is that government works between the departments. So something that can be a small trigger on your payroll, for example, HMRC, can feed you into the pensions, then it can feed you into immigration. So at the moment you're flagged for something minor, that can just unravel a can of worms. So if you are somewhere on the system with any of the governmental organizations, remember they talk to each other when they want to. They don't talk to each other when you would love to them to talk to each other.
Yeah,
But
when they
unfortunately, if they do a sniff, a bit of like a hound of something that's going on, they can make money on you. They will start digging and start talking to each other.
Very good, excellent. Anybody got any external questions whilst we're here? Because we still got some time. It's yes, we have Gunnar.
I have a question, probably more aimed at Nelly and you, Sven, being professional service firms alongside. What are the ramifications for you? Because you hold a lot of data of not only your own company, but multiples. What are the ramifications and what are the options here?
Well, I mean, I can answer yes. This is why I love data map and SafeOnline, because I see the risks. Yeah, we like most service providers, we hold lots of data. And we have policies and procedures in place. Obviously, we all follow them perfectly. But theoretically, yeah, it's a huge risk, and I think this is why service providers, everybody, it's a solution that takes away that slight headache and gives comfort to your clients.
I want to echo that, and as well is to say that we can have policies and procedures for ourselves, for internal staff, but we cannot do it for the client. So if the client sends you the data by email, you cannot make them use the safe structured platform for it. If they do send it by email, you have to make sure that that data is also kept secure. So this is where, SafeOnline Data Mapper is a great tool for that, to identify those risks.
And actually, it's usually the clients that are the biggest problem, because you do tell them, please upload here, and they email it to you, and you go, oh, because it's hell, it can be difficult. Yeah, Kim.
Can I just add something to that, because it's a very interesting point you raised, because a lot of companies, when all the GDPR legislation came into effect back in 2018, there was a kind of a knee-jerk reaction all around the world, really, in terms of this, because oops, now we live in a different age, and most companies started setting up rules for their staff to remember to do this and remember to do this and try and delete this and delete that. But the problem is you have really no idea if they're doing that or not. But with our system, you can keep an eye on it. It monitors every day. It updates daily, so you can see, if you use the system, exactly what people have got, how they respond to the data. So you have a bird's eye view of the whole organization. It's absolutely a massive help to have, if you want to be compliant, that is.
I suppose that one of the questions as well, Kim, that people are going to have is like, well, okay, this sounds great and stuff, but I mean, how long does it take to implement? I mean, I know the test, the scan for getting a report, but from a time perspective, you've got a team, of 10 people, for instance, who are working on selling whatever they're doing in your business. How long will it take each month for them to do this work, or who does it sit on, and that sort of thing? And then maybe just a simple, I know it's difficult to say cost-wise, but how much we're talking about, £1 million a month, or
Oh no. No. It depends on how many people uses it and the amount of data that needs to be scanned. But you're looking at, as a per employee, you're looking at a Netflix subscription per employee per month. That's what we're talking about in general. In terms of setting it up, this solution that we offer comes in two sort of versions, if you like. One is what we call a multi-tenant version, where basically we store the data, we scan the data, and it's stored within the Microsoft universe in the EU, in Sweden, actually. And that's that. What we also have for some companies that want to use that facility is what's called a private tenant solution. So we basically set up the system. The system is identical, there's no difference, but we just close it off into their own company's Microsoft Azure environment. So it's totally locked in there. So they process, they do everything. And they obviously then pay for the consumption to Microsoft themselves instead of us. And that's primarily companies like, for example, law firms, banks, energy companies, insurance companies that want that solution. but we offered it typically from 100 users and upwards. So it's a very, very cool way to do it. But in terms of setting it up, well, it takes to start to set it up with one person first takes under a minute. It's just plug and play. A private tenant solution takes typically an hour to set up.
But I think it also goes back to the time savings, because I think that if you go back to my initial, when I did the introduction about, you want your people to be focused on the job they're actually meant to be doing, not compliance.
Yeah.
And this helps flag to them every month to say, look, you've got a few areas of red concern, please look at them. Because the thing is like, if you tell somebody can you just make sure you're compliant generally? I mean, the thought of going for one's emails and looking through every attachment, I mean, nobody files all the emails at the best of times. So now you've got a system that can say, look, here are your points of concern, sort that out. And then is there somebody who can overview and see, is that the report you had there where everybody can look from a bird's eye view of what's going on in the whole business?
Yeah, you can see exactly what's going on with each member of staff. You can see exactly what they've got, what type it is. Is it PDF? Is it a passport? Is it a national insurance number? Is it a copy of a driving license? You can see everything. It scans everything. So it's very, very effective. But what is also extremely important here, because when it comes to GDPR cleanup, we know that it's not the most sexy thing to sit with. We understand that. It's just not. It is one of those tasks that, as you said at the beginning, Sven, it's a bit tedious, but it's got to be done. It's not going to go away. You know, the challenge just gets bigger and bigger. But what you can do with Data Map as a tool, you can tailor make it to your own needs. So that is, for example, you can add search terms and keywords to it. You can distract that. It comes with a built-in taxonomy. So, for example, if you are a pharmaceutical company and you have certain, you have a department that researches in, for example, allergies or whatever it might be, you have certain needs there, you can tailor make it to that. But you can also take all of these sections that are under the categories and present them when you want to. So when you start off as a company saying, for example, okay, what we want to do, let's start with the numbers. And it's just an example. You can also start with health information and just present that to your members of staff. Because if a person within an organization has, say, 200 files that they need to, clean up, that's a lot easier than 8,500 of them in one go. Certainly. So we obviously have a whole department that helps with setting all this up, onboard staff in every possible way you can imagine, both nationally, internationally, and globally. We have all those ready. But to answer your question, we see with our clients, and we have quite a lot of them, that an employee uses on average 20 minutes a month.
That's nothing, yeah. And I suppose just to go back on the keyword side of things for the South African Chamber audience who might have South African words for like POPI, it's data protection. This can be also added to the database of looking for words for maybe even Afrikaans words for this. So this system can easily be adjusted to cater for other countries and other territories.
Yeah, the only country that or language we don't support is Russian, and I don't have an interest in that, and we will not ever have an interest in that. So.
There you are, Nelly. No, just
no, but
we're not having it.
Of
course, it's also difficult. Yeah, we hear you. The other thing I wanted to say, I mean, this also gives the board, because the data and that thing sits with the board. So this gives comfort to any director who's responsible for this side of things. And I think, it's giving comfort that people can say that we are fine, we can go forward. And then we've had this discussion before, Kim. I think from an insurance perspective, they will look at you kindly and say, look, we feel you've got your risks covered. So that's the next step in getting your reduced costs for insurance coverage.
But you got to start somewhere, and
totally.
The assessment report is a great way to start, because it gives you what you need to start off with is an overview. How bad is it, if it is bad at all? And then from there, you can slowly start taking action on it. I will gladly help you with all of that. Just one final thing I'd like to add. I will be in London tomorrow for the GDPR UK Association's event at the House of Lords. So if anyone want to pop around and say hi to me, please do. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Never been to the House of Lords before. It's a very nice place for a boy.
And just to make sure that people realize they can't get in without invitation, so you can meet them outside the door. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But yeah, if anyone's joining us there, then.
And then I think also just to reiterate to everyone, there is this offer. So if you are interested in having a scan of your systems, reach out to me. We can organize, I'll connect you and get it sorted. And that's it. Oh, yeah. Something happened on my system. Sorry. And I don't see any other questions. If there are any questions, shout out now. Anybody want to unmute themselves? Feel free. We can run over a little bit of time. But if not, I'm going to count down, and then we can say thank you for everyone's time. And as I said, please drop us an email, and if you want further details. Good. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Nelly. Bye-bye.